Salutations, people of the internet and the world. This is Andrea Kleins again, the owner and operator of Phantom Wolf Studio, and this is the 6th out of our 8-part miniseries, and the second out of 2 insights to my stories and progress and process. Let's get started. So what we'll be looking at is the genres I work in, how many projects I usually have on my plate at a time, and how I keep track of time progressions in bigger stories and gestational periods. So the type of writing I usually do is erotica, omegaverse, impreg, straight, sci-fi, fantasy, historical fiction, some thrillers, mysteries, and taboos. These usually range in from teen to new age to young adult genres. So I'm kind of stray away from the young adults since it's going through a decline right now. I strictly focus on teen, but my main thing is new adult and adult related content. For example, when I'm not in school, since these when you stay R-rated, I typically do erotica, which is my main bread and butter, with romance. And if I'm doing a boy-on-boy story, it's 90% to 100% of the time omegaverse and impreg. What that means is has a male character getting pregnant. So we'll be seeing with the tag of impreg on it, there will be a live birth, babies, and all that adorable that you see between couples during pregnancy. Erotica, like I said, when I'm out of school, is one of the main aspects of my stories. Was romance, because romance is one of the things I love to do. I do straight, meaning I do boy on girl a lot of times as well. So my main couples are usually boy on boy and boy on girl. I do some sci-fi with some aliens, erotica, and fantasy with some. You have when I do shifters with dragons, elves, and that type of aspect. Historical fiction, I only have one historical fiction work in right now, but my capstone will also be a semi-historical fiction. What I mean by that is it'll have the beginning part of historical fiction, but the rest will be in modern day. Some thrillers and mysteries, that would be with a story I'm typically going to be getting into over the summer, which would be about a writer who is an invisible man, and him falling in love with a reporter. And taboos are usually like the taboo scenes. There's a form of genre, though it's a very small one. I dabble in it once in a while, though normally outside of school. And while I'm doing projects, typically I keep my number to 5. Right now I've only had 2 projects in the works, which is my realistic piece that I'm doing for class right now, which is called If I Could See You. It's about a girl going to the graves of her best friend. There was a one-sided love, and getting final closure with him when he pops up at his grave. And Into the Unknown, which is my fantasy piece with The Borrowers. But typically, my normal workload has been Forbidden, which is a young adult story, Starling, which is sci-fi, When Sea Meets Winter, which is a shifter story between a snow leopard and a siren. Canaan Lovers, another shifter-based story. Pentacle Witches is a story about these witches and plant shifters. And Into the Unknown. Now, I think it's probably wondering what the highlight means. The highlight means are the works I'm currently working at, and the ones not in highlights are the next round of stories I'll be working at, since I usually do things in 5 increments when I'm writing. So I'm usually having 5 projects going out one time with designated days to those projects. I have a whiteboard that I typically use, write down the project and the word count. I usually give myself a word count minimum for that day, and do not usually stop working on that piece until that word count is met or I hit some writer's block. So regarding that is like, these stories all have aspects of the genres I typically work in. Maybe they have more than one, or they incorporate all of them, which most of them do have about at least 3 of them, with the omegaverse, impreg, romance, and erotica. Erotica is in every single one of these pieces. So let's switch over to how do I keep timelines and gestational periods straight. So when it comes to gestational periods in books, I got this idea from a Q&A I saw with 5 of the top MPreg writers that are going on right now in the business. And one of them, I think it was Sarah Markson, Saria, I'm so bad with names. It's S-U-S-I, Saria. Saria said when C does Omegaverse stories with MPreg, no shifter base, C typically goes with gestational period fitting the animal, which I so agree with, because in stories, if you want to do a 9-month gestational period as we see with a man and a woman, there's a lot of time skips. But I do agree with her if you're doing a shifter-based story, doing the gestational periods based on the animal spirits, you can fit more plot and still have all those cute scenes. So this is my typical guideline of glossary, going from A all the way to Z. And it's still a work in progress, but it's got a mixture of fantastical creatures where I have to fiddle with that to get the gestational period. And when it comes to gestational periods of actual animals, I look it up and then round it to the nearest round number. Instead of having 1.9 or 2, I usually round it up to the nearest full number with that. When it comes to time periods, what I mean by this is time span. If I'm writing a book and it takes a span about around the side of a normal gestational period, there will be a birth. As you can see, book 1 happens in the span of 9 months, so there will be a birth in it. So there will be a birth scene. That typo. Gotta hate those. Baby. Sorry about that, y'all. But if it's happening in a span of 3 months and it's not a gestational period like a wolf or any canids, then there won't be a birth in that book, but there'll be definitely a birth at the beginning of the next book. So I round those up to times, when I'm doing series-based things, I look and see what's the span of the months, how long it's spanning, and if the person is pregnant in that falls in that span of the months, or if their birth will be happening in the next book. So let's go switch over how I keep all this straight, shall we?